On the 24th of March 1989, shortly after midnight, one of the world's largest supertankers ran aground on the Bligh Reef. The tanker Exxon Valdez was carrying 50 million gallons of crude oil. Southern Alaska, one of America's magnificent waterways, was blackened by one of the biggest oil spills in American history. It was reported that 11 million gallons of crude oil escaped from the vessel. In about 7 hours, the crude oil had spread over 2 miles long and 4 miles wide into the Gulf of Alaska. The tanker's single-skin hull had been ripped apart. The captain, Joseph Hazelwood, took the wheelhouse. The Exxon Valdez encountered iceberg in the shipping lanes, and Captain Hazelwood ordered helmsman Harry Clark to take the wheels. Harry then handed third mate Gregory Cousins with precise instructions to turn back into the shipping lanes when the tanker reached a certain point. Cousins and Keegan failed to make the turn, and the ship ran aground. The captain was in his quarters at the time. Wildlife suffered from this catastrophic occurrence. Photos of oil seabirds and otters have become still cliché, but animals were indeed hurt by the Exxon Valdez disaster. An estimated 250,000 seabirds, 2,800 sea otters, and 300 harbor seals were killed in the immediate aftermath, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Once a lucrative catch for fishing industry in the region, crashed and had never fully recovered up to today.
Over the last 125 years, ExxonMobil has evolved from a regional marketer of kerosene in the US to the largest publicly traded petroleum and petrochemical enterprise in the world. Exxon was ranked in the top 5 largest companies in the US. At that time, the CEO was Lawrence G. Roll, and the captain for Exxon Valdez on that night was Joseph Hazelwood. Today, the company operates in most of the world's countries and are best known by the familiar brands such as Exxon, Esso, and Mobil. The company makes the products that drive modern transportation, power cities, lubricate industry, and provide petrochemical building blocks that lead to thousands of consumers. In the aftermath of the Exxon Valdez accident, ExxonMobil redoubled its long-time commitment to safeguard the environment, employees, and operating communities worldwide.
The reason the Exxon Valdez disaster occurred was due to systems failure. The operations of the system had degraded to such a point where a very severe accident could occur. When you get to a point in a system where only one mistake means that the whole system fails, then the system isn't designed properly. The challenges faced aboard the Exxon Valdez tanker were mainly due to having a reduced crew. This caused the crew to work long hours, doing physical and demanding work. On the night of the incident, it is reported that the third mate, who was steering the ship, a routine he had done 25 times before, had as little as 5 to 6 hours of sleep in the previous 24 hours and would have worked as much as 18 hours that day. It has been alleged that the captain had been drinking during the day and he left the bridge to go to take a rest. It was also discovered in the ensuing investigation that Exxon knew he had an alcohol problem and had undergone treatment, but there was no monitoring. This led to the National Transportation Safety Board recommendation of an implementation of an alcohol drug program for seagoing employees that prevents such personnel from returning to the sea until their problem is under control. Some of the external challenges experienced were due to the remote location and adverse weather conditions. Traveling through Williams Sound was tricky. On the night of the accident, there were icebergs in both shipping lanes. The Coast Guard had just installed a new radar system that didn't reach as far as Bligh Reef. Added to that, over the years, Exxon's staff of oil spill experts had been cut back. 9 oil spill managers, including its chief environmental officer, left or retired. It was also discovered that Alaska Consortium had disbanded the emergency response team 8 years before. Exxon had requested better cleanup equipment from Alaska, but were denied. The cleanup demonstrated that contrary to the promises and assurances by the Alaska Consortium, they were unprepared to deal with a spill of this magnitude.
Exxon knew that navigating a large supertanker through the icy waters of Prince William Sound was extremely complicated. Exxon knew that Alaska was not equipped to contain a large oil spill. Their contingency plan in place at the time could not handle a spill over 8.4 million gallons. Armed with this knowledge, the company promised to use great care to avoid a spill. Yet, they knowingly allowed Captain Hazelwood, a relapsed alcoholic, to command its supertanker. They failed to enforce their substance abuse policies. The oil industry promised a swift cleanup in the event of a spill, but there were no recovery efforts for 3 days, while Exxon searched for cleanup equipment. When the state of Alaska passed its own safety laws for double-hull tankers and a high-tech navigational system, the oil industry sued, and this never materialized. In the event of bad weather, instead of diverting out of the shipping channel, they were supposed to slow down. But slowing down is not something they would want to do, because time is money. Exxon guiding principle boasts that they will maintain the highest ethical standards, obey all applicable laws and regulations, and above all, they are dedicated to running a safe and environmentally responsible operation. However, none of Exxon's promises ever materialized. The culture within this organization was based on the deficient principle where they showed bad ethics. They were deceptive and unreliable and promised what they could not deliver. This ultimately led to the major oil spill and the destruction of the environment.
Some of the factors that influenced the ship, which later caused the disaster, were understanding the paradigm analogy, professionalism, and ethics based on decision-making and knowledge. The understanding the paradigm analogy is where money and underminers comes into play in 2 incidents. One where the radar system had been down for a year and a half, which could have guided the ship safely to its destination, and another where the Coast Guards were tired at the point in time, which caused other miners to be lacking on the company's behalf, but if they were not tired, they could have guided the ship accordingly. Professionalism is to be bound by an oath or a promise, which the Exxon Valdez company did not do at the point in time in the design of the ship, where 2 layers of protection or 2 tanks were supposed to be implemented to hold the oil in case of any leakage to the first tank, so the oil will not be able to be dispersed in the ocean. Reading up on the oil spill, something that stood out to me was the goal they set to clean up in case of anything to occur. It was 8 million gallons, but they only had equipment to clean up 10,000 gallons when the oil spill happened.
Okay, well, the little discussion here this evening is about the Valdez oil spill that we had in 1989. Now, the company showed analytical values. The fact that they had skimmers, booms, and train workers. They say they had that in place. They had train workers, yes. Right? These people actually just come up from helicopter, and they was trained sufficiently to spread the boom around the ship and all these things. But what started happening there is that they only say they have skimmers, but they didn't have any. So when the 11 million barrels of oil poured into the ocean, they didn't have no answer really.
It's true. Based on the professionalism statement that Miss Dr. Kelly gave us, that to be bound by an oath, and they really didn't keep their promise to the people of the nation at the point in time.
That's one of the reasons why the cleanup action started so late, because they had no equipment to start it.
That's true. I think in my research I discovered that the toilet never happened. So after some years I started cut back. I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I was sure because one of the things is that you see when the company, Mr. Lawrence G. Roll, when the incident occurred, he didn't really come out and talk to the people and show his sympathy. He didn't come out at all because, thing happened and money still flowing. So, he usually studying about self-preservation, money, power. So, them wasn't really ethical in that sense.
Because of this, I think that's what impacted me the most, the destruction of the aquatic life and the beaches.
Yeah, I think somewhere there's 200,000 birds died and some otters too, plenty of thousands.
Yeah, from what I understand, is about 28 types of animal, plants, marine habitat in Alaska's Prince William Sound decimated killer whale. The killer whale almost extinct. They only have a set on 26 years now. They were actually marking the pod and no new babies. So they show that they really have no recovery, and that we're talking about that's affected 1,500 coastlines. So they got miles, 1,500 miles.
So based on the effect on one little incident on people, it affects the whole society in a massive way, as my friend Mukesh was talking about.
And really and truly the cleanup took, how long has the cleanup took? 4 days?
4 years.
4 years, yes, 4 years. 4 years.
And it's still not boiled on the beaches too.
Yeah. The surface may be clean, but underneath it's still not oil.
But I mean, the company nowadays, they want to improve on the safety and, with the oil spill, and so it will happen again. But 4 years, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous.
Now, if you're talking about a drunken sailor, he will get a $1,000 community service and a $50,000 fine. And I don't think he even make it because I think he made him going to wear orange clothes and go. His testimony was with it. So after all of that, we're going to
But I don't think he should be blamed for the whole incident.
Because
the whole system, because one man was at fault and the whole system had this accident, I think that
I think the
I
company should take some
believe
blame.
that Rudo is telling the truth, because they can't really blame it on one man, because there's no one man actually holding the company in their hands. Because I was reading up that before the supervisor actually went to guide the ship, they just have to test it, so they really can't blame him, even if it kind of is his fault.
Well, he actually started off the chain reaction, but I mean, you can see that the company had underlying problems because they only studied more money, as we were saying recently. In one of the instructions there that money was not proper.
When the accident happened, one of the men from Exxon came and tell them the filters and the natives, they just had some good luck that they may know it's Exxon they're dealing with and Exxon is doing things right. So he wouldn't abandon them. But come down 26 years later, the $5 billion that was awarded, Exxon sued and appealed, and then they bring it down to just about 500 million, and 400 people and the natives already died. Then the only impact for that was domestic violence increase, alcoholism increase in the community, and suicides. So
The people wasn't getting the sufficient food supply they was getting before, because they were afraid to even eat their own food that they are catching. Because they were scared.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we were talking about recently the ripple effects. And there's Ms. Hansen was talking about that, and we can see that here, because we're talking about $300 million in economic harm. Over 32,000 people that really depend on that now, that really crash.